The major crisis that is rocking the People's Democratic Party. So the question would be, where does a party go from here? Well, the Court of Appeal today has dismissed an appeal by the PDP against the October 31st judgment by Justice James Omotosho of the Federal High Court in Abuja, restraining the INEC from recognizing the outcome of the National Convention, which was planned and executed by the PDP in Ibadan, your state, on the 15th and 16th of November last year. In a unanimous judgment, a three-member panel of the Appellate Court resolved the 4 issues for determination against the PDP. The court held that the appeal by the PDP was without merit and that the Federal High Court was right to have delivered the October 31st judgment and granted all the relief sought by the plaintiff. The Court of Appeal faulted the PDP's claim that the trial court lacked jurisdiction to hear the case on the grounds that the issues involved were solely the internal affairs of the PDP. The court also held that the plaintiffs had the local standard, the right, that is, to institute the suit to protect their democratic rights, and that of the PDP was not denied fair hearing as it claimed in its appeal. After the judgment today in court, we saw some members and leaders of the party reacting to the situation. Take a listen.
Justice has been done. I want to appreciate the court for being very critical in this judgment. And it's a wake-up call for political parties to be able to ensure that their affairs of the party is being guided by the Constitution and other guidelines and instant laws. For us, we represent nobody because we are all PDP. And it's an opportunity to also call on every member of PDP to come back home. We have commenced with because of the judgment of the Federal High Court by Omotosho, which asked us to go and ensure that congresses of the 14 states are being done. We have already started that, and then we are also preparing for our next convention, which will take place between 29th and 30th of next month.
Have listened to the judgments of the Court of Appeal, and we still maintain our position that our courts have no business meddling into matters that are purely political. These are matters that should be left to the internal affairs and internal resolution of the political parties. We have asked our lawyers to collect the certified true copies of the judgments that have just been delivered by the court. The court had promised that the judgments should be ready by tomorrow. So as soon as the judgments are received by our lawyers, they will advise us on what further necessary steps to take, if any, on the basis of the said judgment.
It does look like the Turkey faction of the PDP is ready to take these to the to upstairs, that is to the Supreme Court, because a statement signed by Mr. Imi Ememebong, who is the spokesperson of that faction, says that the Court of Appeal judgment, the battle is not over yet, and the party is indicating that the operationalization of this judgment will without fail work on toward hardship on our members to avert this, while we are consulting with critical organs of our party on the way forward. We have also instructed our lawyers to immediately take legal steps to appeal same to the Supreme Court, being the apex court in the land. Some stakeholders are already speaking. One of them is the FCT Minister, Nyesom Wike. Take a listen to what he had to say.
I thank God that the law has spoken. The PDP convention for us will be an opportunity for all the groups to put themselves together and see how they can rebuild the party. And that was very important, but some people felt that for their personal interests, to go along and do whatever they wanted to do. Yeah, the Federal High Court, under Justice Omotosho and Justice Lishu, did say that, look, you cannot violate the laws, be it the Constitution, be it the Electoral Act, be it the annexed electoral guidelines, and your own Constitution you must obey.
All right, then, let's get this conversation started. I'm being joined tonight by, I don't know how to describe both of them, whether there's a fake or the real or the substantive or the factional. But I have two gentlemen here who have been serving as spokesperson of the PDP. And in fact, what interested me today also was that the court was making reference to PDP, but this case is PDP against the PDP. So you'll be wondering, when the court referred to one party as the PDP, is the other party ADC or APC or Labour Party? I'm being joined by Mr. Ini Ememobong, who is a factional PDP spokesman, is here with us in the studio, as well as his brother. Based on the judgment of the appeal court today, I may be able to refer to him as a spokesperson of the PDP Caretaker Committee, Honorable Aruna Mohammed. Gentlemen, thanks so much indeed for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. How do you receive today's judgment?
First, the issue is he assumes, or he's the spokesperson of the caretaker. I'm the National Publicity Secretary, so of the National Working Committee. So that clearly puts a distinction. But
but with the judgment of today, what the inference, and to be fair to you, you know, the last time you came here, we had a bit of a back and forth. And you don't want to be wrong in the eye of the law.
Of course.
You might be wrong in the eyes of humans, but what you don't want to do is to be wrong in the eye of the law. And by the inference of today's judgment, you don't look to exist in the eye of the law as the national publicity.
You don't have that judgment yet, so.
But it was read today. You were in court. Did you read it?
So that is what we are going to say. The certified true copies come. Incidentally, we are friends, and you saw that when we came. The issues at hand are issues of the interpretation of law, and which is why at every stage the issues are distilled and analyzed the way the court sees it. In today's judgment, which is why I'm happy with the tone every other person is taking now, which is why we are saying that the operationalization of that judgment, on the basis of that judgment, which my brother would agree, the court held that the National Legal Advisor was suspended, and therefore he could not act because acting in that way would mean acting without authorization. That same suspension on that fell swoop was his then Secretary Anyanwu, was Bature, and many other people. So the question now is, assuming but not conceding that the position of the law, which of course we are heading to the Supreme Court, the position of the law today, by the time you suspend that one person and by extension the rest, who summoned the meeting that constituted a neck that was able to produce a caretaker? So the effect, which is why it gets parties, which is why you hear Turaki talking about that, politics has no business in the law court, because the law will just interpret the law as it is. Whether it becomes operational becomes another issue, which is why he's saying, look, we need to sit down and talk, because truth is, if at every time people have political issues, the first place they run to is the courts, then we're going to have issues like it happened there. And now we've come to a point where the operationalization of that judgment today will mean that there is absolutely no leadership. That is what it will mean.
I mean, without having to be condescending, the interpretation of the judgment of court today made it look so much that a lot of you in the PDP are political gangsters. And the court said that there are violations of the Constitution, the violation of your party rules, the violation of the Electoral Act. There is a substantive court order, and as a lawyer, you know what that means. And there's a lot of confusion in your party, and your party looks like a gang of confused politicians. And you see the implication of what has happened to your party today. Your party is left with how many governors? Maybe 2 or 1.5. Okay, so why does it look that your party, and the Court of Appeal said, yes, you are challenging the right of the court to enter that matter, But the court has said there is a locus to, I mean, he has a right to be able to enter that matter. But the question is that there is a substantive court order which you should have gone to vacate or appeal. You did not, and you went to Ibadan. Holding on to another order.
Oh, glad you've gone there. My lords, in their wisdom and their consideration.
So your party is a party of confused people.
No, it's not. Whenever interests abound, and if the interests do not go head to head, people are bound to struggle for something. That is the nature of politics. It is inherent in politics that interests must collide. What is
window shop on judgments of court?
You choose as a citizen. If you have issues with channels today, channels does not determine the court you go to. You choose your court. The High Court in Ibadan was approached by an individual, not by the party. We were sued too to that court. And we had two judgments. So we had a ruling and a judgment. And today the court has said, no, you haven't had these two judgments from a court of concurrent jurisdiction. You should have sought appeal. Now the question is, two judgments saying opposite things. Anything you do would mean obeying one and not obeying the other. That is the impracticability of that judgment. Okay, if you have a judgment that says do, you have another that says don't do, you fail to do means you have obeyed one. But the court said we must
put that one on one.
Okay, hold on.
What about the judgment, the court order, which says allow Sule Lamido to participate in or get the opportunity to run for the chairman of the party? What about that order?
The judgment today in the appeal they filed, the court, even as an arbiter, went to the point of saying that despite the fact that people have expressed interest, that there is also a guideline and timeline for things to be done. That a congress or convention must be undertaken does not open the time ad infinitum. And when my lord finished, he said, well, that's an arbiter. But we are happy that he was even mentioned, and we'll get into the judgment of the court. Because those are the things we are saying. There was a period. This program has a time frame. And you invited me, and I'm here within the time frame. If I come here by 9 p.m., and I'm now going to get a court judgment to say, no, Sheon invited me, and I came all the way from where I was, and Sheon must interview me. There are processes, the guidelines and timelines for these processes were clearly taken alongside the convention notice. So it is not new, it is not strange.
All right. So you are the failed party as far as the appeal court is concerned.
There is no failed party. I've told you clearly.
Your appeal before the court has been struck out today.
All the appeals were struck out. They also appealed. That's what there were 9 appeals.
But I'm saying that as a lawyer, you know that it's more in their favor than it's in yours. If not, you'll not be running upstairs.
No, it depends on what we're running upstairs, because we have insisted that these issues are internal affairs. And we would like a panel of 5 to sit over it. I mean, but when you look at, there were 9 appeals today. We appealed, they appealed. All the appeals. And it takes us back to Omotosho and Lifu. You understand? There were different forms of appeal, most of which have failed, if not all have failed, if my memory fails. But the fundamental thing that occurred in court today was that the judgments of Omotosho J and Lifu J were upheld. That is not in question. But on the road to upholding that are critical introductions that have now been made, meaning that the suspension of the NWC, that the NWC suspended the secretary, the national secretary, the national legal advisor, the national organizing secretary, has been countenanced by the court. That now leads to something which, as we progress, will come up.
All right. So before I go to Jumundo, the Ibadan Convention does not seem to be valid as of today. After the judgment.
By the judgment of the court, it takes us back to Omotosho.
Yeah. Pre the Ibadan Convention.
It takes us back to
pre-November 15th.
But also know that there's another Court of Appeal judgment, another Court of Appeal session coming up on Wednesday. Right. Still on the subject matter. In fact, now squarely on the subject matter of the validity of the convention.
Okay. Honorable Jumundo, how does your side receive this today?
Well, for us, it didn't actually come as a surprise, because
you already have the judgment?
Not that we have the judgment.
Or you paid for the judgment?
The law.
Or your side already wrote the judgment? So because if you are not surprised about...
We are not surprised because the law is clear as to the do's and don'ts. You cannot violate extant rules, extant provisions guiding the conduct of political parties, particularly in respect of the subject matter, that is the conduct of the convention, and then you hide under the veil of internal party affairs. Who does that? It is not done so. I am surprised that we are talking about the validity or otherwise of the conduct of that convention, which the lower court and indeed the appellate court have rightly decided in line with the provisions of the law and in line with precedents already set up by the courts. He is introducing the issues of suspension. What may interest you about these issues of suspension of Anyanwu and Ajibade? It was just an issue that Mr. Ajibade tried to draw the attention of the court through an objection that Mr. Chris Uche, who was not nominated by Ajibade as the national legal advisor of the party, to file a case on behalf of the PDP. So the justices now said, yes, while at the lower court, Uche and Jegede do not have the right to represent the PDP because they were not validly nominated by Ajibade being the national legal advisor. But a day after the judgment...
Hence we saw that embarrassment in the court.
Oh, yes, as at then.
That was an embarrassment of a sin that, I mean, no organization in the world should face that kind of embarrassment.
Well,
sin advocates and everyone, members of the party, leadership of the party. You guys just had a show of shame on that day in the courtroom.
What do you do when you have people who are bent on bending the rules? The constitution of the PDP is very clear that it is only the national legal advisor who has the right to nominate a council for the party.
But let me put context. So in use of that language, a lot of people may not know the context. So it happened that in the courtroom where I don't know if you were there, that lawyers of the PDP, legal advisor of the PDP, and leaders of the PDP were going back and forth at each other, right in the courtroom.
The question now is who nominated Chris Uche and Jegede to represent the PDP?
The question is that why wouldn't you have resolved that? Why are you bringing your family matter into a public shame, a dance of shame?
When certain people are guided by ego and not guided by principles of law, you are bound to have such kind of rascality in an open court. I want to clear one thing. The issue of suspension he mentioned. So the appellate court now said yes, that while you were at the lower court, it was correct that Ajibade and Chris Uche were never nominated to represent the party by the national legal advisor. But a day after the delivery of that judgment by Omotosho, I think, the NWC under Damagun suspended Ajibade and the rest. So in the eyes of, in the wisdom of the appellate court today, they said that suspension stood, and therefore, Mr. Ajibade cannot now, having been suspended as at that time, lest I forget, the suspension was only for 30 days, for a period of 30 days. So now that you were suspended, your right to nominate a legal advisor for the party has been taken off you being under suspension. So that is the only statement the court made. And it is important to stress that the suspension was for 30 days and the tenure of Damagun, Ajibade and Anyanwu elapsed and expired as at 7th of December 2025. The issue as to whether the caretaker is valid or not is an issue before a court. I can tell you that a federal high court, in a case they instituted themselves in an effort to go forum shopping from state high court to federal high court, the judge now said that, let me conclude by saying that the first respondent in this case is the electoral umpire, INEC. It is only bound to deal with the caretaker committee set up to run the affairs of the applicant pending when they hold a lawful and legitimate convention wherein national officers will be elected. So it is a statement of the court recognizing the national caretaker committee of the party headed by Abdurrahman Mohammed and Senator Anyanwu. If they have any issues with that, we are in the Court of Appeal. we are free to also deal with such issues.
So,
if they want to go to Supreme Court, they are free to go. It is the Supreme Court
you
that
see the confusion that I mentioned earlier. You see the confusion. So there is the illegality on your side, illegality on the...
No.
So you were using illegality as a tool against each other.
You can't take the statement, a judgment of a court, a valid and substantive judgment of judge, and say it is an illegality. It is the court that gave recognition and directed INEC to deal with Abdurrahman Mohammed and Senator Anyanwu as the only alleged. Yes. If you have issues, they joined.
No,
I am coming. They joined. I am coming. Anyanwu and Abdurrahman joined that suit as members of the caretaker committee. They are party to the suit. So the court gave recognition to Abdurrahman as the national caretaker.
Does the judgment of court actually specifically refer to them in person?
Because they joined the suit. They are part of the suit and they joined
no, it's a yes or no answer.
It is yes, they
joined in person with their name in the judgment.
They are parties to the suit.
Does it mention them in the judgment?
They are there as chairman National Caretaker Committee and secretary National Caretaker Committee. So the judge now said, I give recognition to the National Caretaker Committee, which joined, sought and was approved to join the suit.
Let me ask you, Honorable Mohammed.
Yes.
With the position of the appeal court today, what is the next action of your side of things? Because they are going upstairs, and I guess that you might hurriedly want to carry out congresses, convention, and at the end of the day, the Supreme Court will say, whatever you have done is also invalid. Is that your plan?
It may interest you to know that in compliance with Justice Omotosho's judgment, we have carried out our ward congresses and local government congresses. We will hold our state congresses on Saturday. And I can also tell you, and members of the party, that our national convention is coming up 29th, 30th. No two ways about that. We are holding our next meeting by Wednesday, by the grace of God. They want to go to Supreme Court. No problem. It is the same Supreme Court that 3 days or 2 days to the area council election that delivered a judgment, landmark, regarding the issues of internal party affairs of a political party. The Supreme Court said that the issues of internal party affairs is not absolute. It's not absolute, that you cannot do things with reckless abandon and then come out to say that it is internal affairs. You cannot refuse to comply with INEC guidelines, political party guidelines, Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as well as the Electoral Act.
Let me ask you,
and then say it is internal party
affairs. Why does it look and feel on the other side that there is a little group of people, a gang of people, who are hoping and working hard in hijacking the party for selfish interests? And they're making reference to your side of the divide, that you don't even have the consensus across the line, across the country, compared to the convention they held in Ibadan. That's a large number of people across the country. By inference, the question is, why does it look like there is a gang or a group of people hijacking the PDP and decimating it? Is that the implication of what you are doing?
Is it the Kabiru group that are hijacking the party by refusing
group?
I am coming. By refusing to abide by simple rules and regulations of a political party and electoral guideline? Are they not the ones ganging up to
your side is very guilty because the judgment of appeal court says you are also in disobedience to portions of your own party rules and the constitution.
I have no idea.
Were you in court today?
I was from the beginning till the end.
And you didn't hear the side that struck up part of your appeal?
Part of my appeal?
You didn't listen to that part?
The part where I know that it was where they intended to introduce fresh evidences. And the court partly agreed with them by admitting some of the evidences and refusing to admit some of the evidences. And of course, I know that part of our appeal was struck out, but it has nothing to do with that. The convention in Oyo you are talking about, there are people largely that were mobilized from Bauchi and Oyo State. Go and find out. Even Kebbi State delegates, where Kabiru Tanimu came from, did not even attend that convention. So wait and see our own. I know Kabiru Tanimu was dismissed from the party in Kebbi. He was the arrowhead of anti-party that led to the failure of General Bande in Kebbi State. So I am wondering that some people will even be saying the convention had spread. Which spread? That people from even Kebbi State did not attend?
But I'd like to ask both of you this question. And first to you, Honorable Mohammed.
Yes.
Are you now happy that your party is more or less a non-entity as far as Nigeria politics is concerned?
I disagree with that.
Oh, really?
I disagree that we
Should
are
I
non-entity.
give you the facts to that?
Oh, you are free to.
How many governors do you have 2 years ago?
Does number of governors...
How many lawmakers do you have 2 years ago?
Coming.
How many House of Reps members do you have?
If you are asking
what is the number of your party 2 years ago? How many are those that are remaining there?
If you were talking...
Apart from those of you in this group and this other group that are fighting each other.
If you were to ask me about what is the number of ward that we have party structures in Nigeria, that is where I will begin to have concerns and worries.
Are you sure you still you have any structure in Nigeria today?
Very, very well. Very, very well. Why?
And I'll come to you, Mr. Emma. It's the same question to you. Are you guys happy now that you have killed the PDP?
The first thing is, my brother speaks about legality. And the first thing is that the title he's carrying does not appear anywhere in the constitution of the party, except he rewrote it.
The caretaker.
There's nothing called national caretaker. Caretaker does not exist at the national level.
The first time your party...
The last time we tried it with McAfee, we left the Supreme Court at a hair's breadth. It doesn't exist. Ask him to show anywhere. It doesn't exist.
But does
the party...
Hold on. No. Does the Constitution give your party the right to be able to take a decision on behalf, NWC take a decision on behalf of the party? Has it deemed fit?
NWC can take a decision on behalf of NEC. And NEC would take that decision and report to convention. So it has a step. But it realizes that at the national level, the party must be democratically managed. And therefore, there is absolutely no room for a national caretaker. Absolutely none, in no circumstance.
So let's go back to my question. Does your party really exist? Because it looks like a non-entity political party as it stands today.
No, if it was...
And are you happy with that?
If it was a non-entity, you wouldn't invite us.
Really?
The fact that you
are interested in democracy.
No,
we are concerned
so that shows that we are critical stakeholders in the democracy.
This was the party that brought Olusegun Obasanjo,
it is critical.
Yaradua,
Yes.
Jonathan into power.
Yes.
That had almost 20 governors going into the 2023 election. But today, what do you have? A governor just left your party.
Where we are is simple because we have a group of people where, unfortunately, my brother belongs, who have clearly said that they want to hold down the party for the president. It's not hidden. That's their disposition. And so which makes this problem, which ordinarily could have been resolved, very difficult because we are at polar ends. We are saying we must have candidates across the line, and we are not just putting up candidates like they attempted to do in the FCT so that they can ask to step down 48 hours before. No, we are saying we are not just contesting, we are contesting to win. That makes it irreconcilable difference, and that is clearly where the issues are. The issues are that they have someone they call national leader, and that title doesn't exist anywhere in the PDP constitution. So they have someone they report to who is beholden to them. You heard the president say, if your party wins my party in FCT, you will lose your job. So to keep his job and to keep my friends, they have to make sure that the party stays divided.
Give me a moment, gentlemen. Is it possible for you to resolve this matter?
We are not opposed.
Maybe you give up your position to Mohammed, and he also maybe...
I'm not fixated.
Is that possible?
I'm not fixated on positions. The only thing I'm fixated on is that if PDP must survive, it must be an opposition party of worth. It mustn't be an appendage of the APC. It mustn't be a laptop.
Are you claiming on the iron one rest are appendage?
We saw during the FCT elections a difference between the PDP they want and the PDP we want.
That's the problem, right?
I don't have any issues with... We are friends. We meet and discuss. I don't have absolutely any issues with positions and titles. But if we must be... I refuse to go to the APC. So I can't be an appendage. I cannot be in a party that is now an appendage of the APC. It makes it look like a river going to a stream.
It is their own entitlement and perception, seeing that we are an appendage of the APC. We are not. But I want to also correct an impression or a perception that PDP might not field candidates. PDP will field candidates, and that is why INEC as of today, in obedience to the Federal High Court judgment in Oyo, gave recognition to Abdurrahman and Senator Anyanwu.
They said they didn't issue the statement that they didn't even invite you for the meeting.
As at today.
But they issued a statement.
I am coming in,
they've not
totally out of time.
As at today, INEC had monitored and supervised the world congresses we held across this country.
Monitored this
and then
Congress
I'm coming. The Federal High Court said that the piece of evidence placed before her about the caretaker committee was not controversial.
We're totally out of time.
Was not controversial.
We're totally out of time.
It was an
I've got interest. I need to serve. It wasn't commercial interest. We need to serve. Thank you so much.
It wasn't controversial.
That's our show for today. No, thanks for watching. I'm sure Kimberly. God bless Nigeria.